Thank you, Madam Secretary, for being here today. I want to talk back about Parkland. I know you went there to visit, weren't able to take many questions from students, so some of them have submitted them to me today. And as we hear news reports of another school shooting in Maryland yet today, your work on this commission, I think you described it in a recent interview as urgent. Couldn't be more urgent as we send our kids to school and hope that they will come home safely. So in that line, and this is in line with many of the questions from students, when is the first meeting of your commission?
The first meeting is going to take place very soon.
What does that mean?
Within the next few weeks. And
who's going to be on the commission?
The commission is going to be comprised of 4 cabinet secretaries, myself, HHS, Justice, and Homeland Security.
Is that it? Just 4 cabinet secretaries? No experts? No Democrats?
That is the composition of the commission itself. We will be inviting and having forums and meetings with a wide variety of experts, not only here, but across the country.
Will you have any students? Apparently not as commission members, but you'll be inviting students?
Not as members of the commission. As I said, this is an urgent matter, and we want to ensure that we're able to move and operate as quickly as possible without getting bogged down in a lot of bureaucracy.
So you think the first meeting will happen by the mid-April? When do you plan to conclude this?
The timeline is still being worked out, but rest assured we have a very keen sense of urgency around the work of this commission and the necessity of really...
How are you defining urgency? I mean, what you must have some timeline in your head for this.
I do, but...
What is that? What do you think?
I do, but we are still
leader.
working out the details with the administration.
Okay, so your urgency, but you haven't begun. There will be 5 members of this in total?
4.
Just 4, so not 4 includes you?
That's correct.
Okay. And you have said that you were going to look at everything. One of the questions from my students follows back on Barbara Lee's question that she had for you. Do you recognize that there is disparate rates of discipline for Black children in our schools? That it is 3.8 times?
That data. Mm-hmm.
You've seen that data. So how are you feeling about arming guards and teachers and increased militarization of our schools potentially? How will that affect students of color?
I'm concerned about all students, students of color, and all students. We want to ensure that students have the opportunity to learn in safe environments.
Is that going to be a top agenda of your commission?
That is going to be the focus of this commission. That is the charge of this commission, to look at ways to advance the safety and well-being of all the physical environments that students attend. We want to ensure that parents don't have the situation that they did in Parkland and today in Maryland. We have a culture of violence in this country that we have got to help identify solutions for and root causes to, and we need to come up with
We're
ways.
sort of moving beyond platitudes at this point, though. We have students' lives on the line. Have you rethought your elimination of the student support and enrichment grants that specifically go to violence in our schools and help students deal with that?
As you know, this budget was presented several months ago.
Is that a no? You have not rethought that?
As you know, the budget was presented several months ago. Our current scenario suggests that we should revisit this again, and I would welcome Congress's doing so and supporting this initiative around ensuring schools have the resources that they need to help keep.
So you will take a leadership role in undoing the elimination of those critical mental health programs for students?
I support Congress's readdressing this and looking at this budget item.
What about after-school programs?
And support the flexibility that schools and districts have under ESSA to focus resources where they believe it's most needed to ensure student safety.
And what about after-school programs? You also eliminated the 21st Century Community Centers. That's 80,000 kids in Florida alone.
This budget has had to make priorities around.
Have you rethought
bottom
that
line,
in line of school violence?
I encourage Congress to take a look at areas that they think need to be done differently based on where we are today. But the after-school programs have been identified as being very, there's no data to show that they are effective in what the goal, stated goal has been. In some communities, they may be, but
What do you mean there is no data? There is study after study after study. I appreciate that. We will be glad to supply you with the studies on the efficacy of after-school programming.